Are you tired of the cubicle? Today's guest on the Real Life Planning podcast is Tania P. Brown, who's a job exit strategist. Now, some of us love what we do and some of us don't. And if you're in the latter category, this is the episode for you. Welcome, Tania.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit, what's a job exit strategist?
Great question. So I work with women who are at a crossroads between their corporate jobs and this longing to be self-employed. And they find themselves in the gap, staring down all of this stuff they have to do. And they have no idea how to construct this bridge to get them from one end to another. I come in. So I help them develop strategies around a lot of times their biggest financial obstacles to becoming self-employed and help them focus on the stuff they really need to focus on and not worry about the other stuff. The ultimate goal is to help them build the best foundation to help them have success when they're self-employed.
So I think this is so interesting. Yeah, just a little bit of backstory for anyone who's listening. So Tanya's been on the podcast before, really early on when we first launched this video podcast. And your business had a slightly different name, but not a dissimilar focus. But the interesting thing is that we left our corporate jobs in the workplace, financial wellness space around the same time. So I left first, but you left like 8 months afterwards?
6 or 8 months.
Yep. And so we went through this early journey of becoming entrepreneurs at the same time. We had accountability sessions and work sessions together over time. We really watched our baby businesses grow up. What gave you the courage to go out on your own?
I like to call it the performance review from hell. When I take a look at 5 years ago, that is what gave me the courage. There was really no turning back after that performance review. So in that performance review, pretty much I was punished for giving notice that I was going to close on my home versus going to a sales meeting. And that was deemed lacking team spirit. I don't quite know how you turn back from that.
Although that situation is unique to you, many people reach a point in working for a large organization where some of the rules just don't make sense. Right? They're not flexible enough to accommodate being a parent or being a child of an aging parent or dealing with the other things that we have in life. And as professionals, we want a little bit of flexibility because we always get our work done.
Yeah. I think for some, I was talking to a client and I found there's these 3 I's. I was saying one is income and no longer having income driven by a performance review, but rather than your impact. The other one is impact. For some, it's the desire to do more, to make a difference in a way that's meaningful. And for others, it's intensity of work. Oftentimes when I hear people say, I just want to do nothing when I work. I'm like, what if you can dial up and down the hustle to work for you? Do the things that matter, whether it's travel, hanging out with kids, future grandkids.
I see that a lot in our business where people are looking to grow their real estate portfolios, usually with the goal of being work optional at a younger than typical age. And it's interesting. I'm curious if you see some generational differences, because I often see the older people that are older, Gen X, younger boomer, for example, more my peers they may want to retire to entrepreneurship. And sometimes I see folks that are 35 or 40 and they're already completely burnt out.
I would say it's all across the board. I have seen they come out of college talking about, I'm done. I'm ready for my own business. Here's what I'm finding. When I find someone is younger, they look around them at people who are burnt out, miserable. And a lot of times they're like, is this supposed to be the rest of my life? If I get to my stage, I'm Gen X, I find I've given 20 years of my life and I am tired of my life living in emergence as my profession. I want time now to devote to the things I have because, to be honest, when you start to get into your 50s, you start to go to more funerals than you do weddings. And that gives you that time is short. And what are you going to do with the time you have left? And for those who perhaps didn't do a great job saving for retirement, instead of finding themselves in the job from hell or that they hate, I encourage them, how about we reinvent what retirement is and you retire into something you enjoy or whatever savings you have can be a supplement.
Mhm. I think that's so worthwhile, this concept. And could we break down the three I's and talk about each of them a little bit? So let's talk first about impact, the idea of trying to earn a living by creating value for others, making an impact.
Absolutely. I find when I talk to people about like impact, it is for them, doing work that they find satisfying. For others, doing work that makes a difference to mankind. For others, there's a problem that they just love solving. So it's what impact means to that person. And after a while, you want to do work with a conclusion that matters to you.
How would you take somebody through a strategy where they gain conviction about what they want their impact to be in the next decades of life?
It's funny. I just recently did a LinkedIn post as to where I start with the person that's confused. And I know what I'm about to say sounds crazy, but just work with me on this. Okay. I actually have them do a list. One side is happy, one side is not happy. And I challenge them everything. I don't care if it's a cup of coffee. Just write down what makes you happy. I don't care if it's sending out an email, write down what's not happy. The wisdom in this is that you begin to see a pattern. Like for me, I was surprised that the thing that I thought I didn't particularly care about, I can live with, was on my unhappy list 6 times. And then the next was to dig deeper. Why?
Mm.
Is it the email? Is it the person that it's going to? Is it the work that's involved behind it? And then for the things you like for the person that loves going to get coffee every morning, is the coffee or is it the camaraderie? Then now we got a clue that now something you like involves being with people. Is it the discussions that you have? Now we know maybe it's solving problems for others that you do at the coffee shop. Just that one exercise begins to give context clues. And I'm like, follow the clues.
That's a wonderful exercise. Do you have a favorite question that you ask clients about impact?
Yes. I always ask if it is 3 years from today, we've run into each other and you are telling me you are living your best life. Like you go, Mondays are like your Fridays, you are lit up. What exactly are you telling me?
I love that. What a great question. I might have to borrow that. So let's talk about income then. Now, you're a certified financial planner, and although you don't work in a typical way as a financial planner, how does that inform your conversations about income?
It informs my conversations about income for a few things. I tell people you can have the best plan on the planet, but if you don't know how much income you need in order to sustain your business through what I call the self employed gap life, the season between that corporate job and that consistent business income, you're going to spend more time stressing about your bills rather than focusing on your business. So the first layer is let's get clear on what that income needs to be for you to even move forward. Second, what does this need for you to feel fulfilled? So we got the income that you need just to survive that season of transition, but that's not the end. It's the income for you to survive and thrive. What does this look like? And I try to get them to drill down. So when I work with them, I try to get them to think of what does self-employed life look like? And to be honest, this came from my mistake. I was so angry and so upset that I focused on the quit instead of life after the quit. And I would have done a lot better if I would have taken some time to think of what do I want life to look like after I'm done. So, in terms of income, your income needs are going to be different if you just want to go down the street to hang out with friends versus you want to do a Mediterranean tour every 4 months. So, helping them think of what does this lifestyle look like and helping them take off all of the caps of what they thought they were limited in, really getting them to dream. We then can help them begin to think about income. And more importantly, what does this business need to look like to match the income that they want?
So, are most of the folks that you're working with looking to exit from conventional employment into entrepreneurship, building a team of many, right? Or into like a solo practitioner type model?
Overwhelmingly lifestyle. Though a lot of the women I work with are already at managerial and executive levels. They're like, I'm done with that life. They want to be able to do work they enjoy and have a lifestyle. So a lot of times solo. They've already managed the teams. They're done. They're like, I am tired of being a babysitter of grown adults. I've heard that more times than I can count. And it's finding their balance of solo. They may bring on contractors to help, but it's a lifestyle driven business.
The folks that you're mostly working with aren't necessarily looking to go, say, raise a lot of capital from investors or build large supply chains for products, that kind of thing. Okay.
No, they're looking to go to Paris every quarter. That's my people.
So what do you do in this situation? And I see this a lot in at real life planning and our financial planning practice is I have conversations with clients who are very high earning professionals. So maybe a physician or an attorney, for example, where it is extremely difficult to replace that kind of compensation if you are changing your profession and becoming self-employed. Like, what do you tell those folks?
It goes much deep. That is a decent percentage of the people that come to me, and it goes much deeper because I tell them it's an identity shift. So it's much deeper than just the income. It's their entire way of life. I don't think we know how much our income impacts our life. Our ability to tell our kids yes anytime we want to, and all of a sudden you have to look at a budget. The people you hang around almost always mirrors your income. So if you have a girlfriend that sees a great trip overseas and they can make a deal and they can just pay for it, you can no longer do that because you don't have the high income coming in. So helping them understand the implications of that loss of income. So I think the first thing is, yeah, maybe I can make it with less money. And I'm like, let's just unpack this for a second. That Michelin star restaurant we go to every week, yeah, that's gone. Or maybe it's once a quarter or once a month. So it's deeper than just the income. It's the impact of what that means to their lives. Do they really understand that? And then go ahead. I was also going to say, your transition is as unique as you are. I don't think it always has to be an extreme leap. It may be a series of bunny hops. So they could go part-time and still build their business full-time together based on the lifestyle they said they wanted, what income is needed to cover it.
And what's the third I again?
Impact.
So impact, income, and
so it's impact first. It's intensity. Sorry. Intensity is. So I find, the person that comes to me, they are done. I hate my job. I hate everything. I don't ever want to work again. And when I get them to unpack it, was it the intensity of the work? They were in a constant state of hustle, working 80 hours a week. I'm like, if you were in the same environment without the stress and maybe 25 to 30 hours a week, how did you feel about the job you're doing now? There are so many ways, especially in our profession, where you can work at a high intensity or low. So I find a lot of times it's more intensity than it is, I hate the work itself, and helping them balance, what does this look like for you to feel good?
What's your favorite question or coaching question around intensity? Because I think that we're both, you and I, we work at a really productive pace, right? We have a lot of friends that we know that work at a very productive pace, and we have clients that feel like they just don't have off button.
Yeah,
and probably we attract that. So what's the question that helps people get at to how they may be contributing to their own hustle culture?
I go back a couple of steps. So while they're still employed, I highly encourage people to get some healing because one is the toxicity they came from. How aware are they of that? So let's talk about that. But I asked them to design a perfect day to me. Again, we're meeting and you are just living your best. Where am I meeting you? Am I meeting you in a coffee shop? Am I meeting you in between meetings? Am I meeting you in Paris? A lot of times that gives me an instant answer. But I have them walk me through, what does your day look like? That tells you the level of intensity they really want versus the intensity they've grown accustomed to for a variety of reasons.
So, how do you think, Tanya, that your own life and experiences have prepared you to take your female clients through this next phase of their lives? It's a heroine's journey, if you will.
It is. I feel like I evolved in this space. I didn't really think about, I had always felt I was a mismatch puzzle, even in the financial industry. So I always felt I had all these moving pieces and I didn't look like everybody else. So I learned my entire life prepared me for this. I'm a master of transitions. I transitioned into the military. I transitioned from the military into civilian world with amazing ease. I
Mhm.
transitioned from federal to being a financial advisor when back in the day you were 100% commission. So I've had seasons of transitions in different seasons of my
Mhm.
life, when I was single with no kids, when I was a little bit older with kids as a professional. So I think the fact that I can relate to different seasons is one. Also, I always say I don't have that pedigree background of growing up with middle class parents who've instilled these things. I grew up pretty poor and I had to figure stuff out along the way. So I get the person's struggle. And I sometimes find when I listen to people, they're speaking from a base that I never had. So I did not hear of the words checking or savings account until I spoke to a friend in the military. I didn't have that base.
Mhm.
So understanding the perspective of someone who perhaps never wanted to be self-employed, who didn't grow up around people with self-employed, and understanding the mindset shifts that takes place, the level of self-doubt, the fact that if you from day one have always had a corporate paycheck, it's not easy to just take this leap when that's all you've known. But I think the understanding that this is a bigger leap than more mental than what people realize, meeting them emotionally where they are and honoring that and not being condescending.
So, let's dig into that a little bit because I'm curious if you think about income this way. I heard once from an attorney who ran a small public company that I met many years ago, who said that our income is like a belt tied around our waist, right? It goes where we focus. But the idea is that we're out there in the world creating value for other people. We're creating value for our employers. We're creating value for customers or clients. That our ability to earn resides within us. I think so many people who worked in W-2 jobs for a paycheck think that their income, it comes from their employer. That's just the mechanism for getting paid, but their income really comes from their ability to focus and create value for other people.
Yeah, that was, and I'm being transparent, still is a shift for me.
Mhm.
So when you are employed, just how you're even judged. You're judged by how much tasks you do. Whereas when you're self-employed, it's outcome. That was a shift, even in how you think or price yourself. When you think of things just in the cluster of tasks, it's very different than seeing your value through the outcome. Like for
Mhm.
you, being able to help real estate investors sleep more comfortably at night, feel better about their choices. Think of things that you're able to see ahead so they're able to retire and live their dreams. What's the value of that? Whereas if you're an employee, it could be how many people did you see? How many plans did you write? So
Mhm.
that shift is what I found was a big one.
That belief in yourself,
Yeah.
like that to be able to pay your own bills. Right. And of course, having some sales and marketing training in general, even if you're just a lifestyle solo practitioner in whatever it is that you're doing, it helps certainly to practice that ability of charging for your services and asking for the deal, if you will. How do you take people through that mindset shift? What are some of the tools that you use to help them think of themselves as the mistress of their own income?
Getting them to start talking about their value. Like I just sometimes will sit with them and tell me, like I'm big at walk me through your day. Walk me through what you do. And I can pick out people get paid. Sometimes it's as simple as people get paid to do this outside their employer. Sometimes that's all it takes. I don't know how else to say this. I feel like we're so trained to be employees. It's hard to see your value outside of that. So literally, I've had to walk someone through an exercise, tell me everything you do in a day. And I'm like, someone gets paid to do that. Someone gets paid to do that.
That's a
Someone gets paid to
great
do that.
start.
Someone gets paid a lot of money to do that. And sometimes that one exercise, they just kind of look at me like, really? I'm like, yeah, there's a whole nother business. There's a whole business that does that.
Yeah. Somebody needs to do this for all the stay-at-home moms too.
Yeah, it's a tremendous value. So it's one thing to say it is, but I've found people as around get people they can't relate to that. So that walking through a day in their job, like I had one woman who was an administrative assistant. I don't see any value. I said, there's 1,000 virtual assistant businesses out. There's 1,000 people who make money. But I will literally have them walk me through what they do. And I will point out how someone has a business doing this very thing. And that you don't know if you're not around other entrepreneurs or business owners.
So do you connect your clients with each other?
Yes. Like it's kind of like the underlying thing for me. I want to give them community with each other, but I also, if I know of one person that can help out another, I will connect them together. But yes.
So I'm curious if do you see any external forces that are beyond the control of an individual that are impacting these high levels of burnout and dissatisfaction that you're seeing, Clay?
I see it on two sides. The blessing I had when I started the business was I didn't have social media. I would be a train wreck if I had social media because they are giving what I call the highlight reels of false success. They have trained almost an entire culture to believe in something that's not real. There is no human being that can sustain 80-hour work weeks without burning out. There is no parent I know of that doesn't have seasons where you just want to strangle your kids or where your house look like a hot mess. The expectations, particularly of what being a woman is today, is insanity. We are expected to be like a negative 90 pounds, perfect hair, go to the Alps to handpick olives for our totally organic, perfect meals while running a business.
That's right.
Working
With no
hours.
sugar, low calories, high protein.
Exactly. Running ungodly hours, having this business where we've risen to the top without somehow everything else falling apart. And this is what we put as our picture as success. And people live by this. So it sets unreal expectations. Then you have the other side, and I call it the highlight culture of entrepreneurship. And I will have people come to me. So sometimes I see my role as the compassionate reality checker because they are going to quit their jobs today and be at 10K per month by next month. And that is not living in reality.
That's probably practical. No.
Or my,
Probably not.
Yeah. Or my personal favorite. And I'm sure if you've talked to people, you've heard this. I don't really like sales. I don't really like marketing. And I want
that's essential if you're going to work for yourself. No.
And I tell them, okay, can I interpret for you what you've just told me? And they're like, yes. I said, so you do not want to let people know that you can offer them a solution. And you do not want people to know you exist because if you do not market, they do not know you exist. If you do not tell them you have a service to offer, they cannot work with you and you cannot sell. And I try to break down all selling is you're letting someone know you have a solution to their problem and you're going to take time out of your life to be beside them for that. And that should have an economic value because that's what you got paid to do anyway.
So it sounds to me, Tania, like you are a professional, wise mother or aunt or fairy godmother, right? That you are a believing mirror in your clients' lives to show them through your processes and tools, like how they really do have it inside them to make this shift happen for themselves.
You've been through my hot mess journey. I'm very transparent that
I would just call it a normal journey to self-employment.
But I tell them everyone's journey is a hot mess in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty comfortable with that because I've had so many discussions about that. And I tell them in the beginning, I pivoted so much. My head spun like that girl from The Exorcist. And I didn't know which direction to go and which way to turn. I was all over the place for the first few years. And I thought it was me until I started talking to other people. And I realized it was just about everybody. And I wish somebody would have told me those first few years, you're just figuring stuff out. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's hopefully fast and hopefully inexpensive experience. We've all had expensive experiments that didn't work out, but which is a normal part of the journey.
Yeah. And I wish somebody would have said that. So a lot of times I want to be that compassion. I want to be that reality checker that if you feel like your head is spinning in circles, that's normal. If you feel like you're spending more time marketing than actually selling, well, that's what happens. No one knows who you are. You're spending a lot of time telling people who you are. If sales feel awkward, that's normal. For the first time, you're having to let people know about your services and work with them as opposed to you're a W-2 and there's someone else that does that. But no one tells me that. I think from my end, I just wish somebody would have said that this was normal and that this was a normal process. It would have taken all of the weight and pressure off of myself. I try to do that with people, but I am pretty transparent about my entire journey when I talk to clients.
I can imagine that helps people feel comfortable to know that here you are sitting on the other side of that journey, successfully helping other people strategize at their beginning, right? That it helps them to know that you had both successes and failures along those different steps.
Yeah. And the breakneck
that is like nobody we see on social media all the time. And I a little bit older than you. So I grew up with I grew up with a rotary phone with a avocado phone cord, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
But that we can't compare our start to somebody else's finish. Right?
There's
we
so much
use their finish to inspire us and know that it's possible, right? So that those folks are an example of what's possible for us. But our start is our start, and it can't be compared to anybody else's.
That is a topic I have a lot. And what I tell people is there is context behind their story. If someone tells me they shot out the gate and were successful and they came from a marketing background, that is a huge advantage. If they came from a sales background, if they already were in a financial planning industry and got into business, almost for that person, they probably have a pool of clients. So I always say you never know that person's starting point. And all of us have our own journeys.
Yeah. So if someone is listening or watching this conversation and they're wondering, well, maybe I should work with Tania, how would they know? Like, who's the kind of person that is listening that is a really good fit for your practice?
The person that is corporate employee, you've been doing this for a while, you just feel this longing and calling for more, and you're telling yourself, this can't be it. There's got to be more here. You find yourself often giving advice. You're often thinking the what if, what could this look like on the other side? I'm like, let's take it from the what if and let's make it a real possibility. But I find that's the person that oftentimes come to me. They're at a point where I love how one woman put it, they're ready to live out, they're ready to move beyond living in the margins of their career. And you feel it. The person that they feel every part of what I'm saying. And that's the person for me. And I would love to be their partner on that journey and be their guide.
And where would somebody find online or on social?
Yeah. So it's Tania P. Brown. My name is spelled a little different. So Tania P. Brown. There's 1,000 of us out there. I would love to get together with some other Tanias, but that's another story. So once you go in there, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to my website. I do a free 30-minute consultation where I get to know you, what you feel is in the way. And then I help you find what is your next best step to turning in that resignation letter confidently and with a smile.
Oh, that's wonderful, Tania. So just to finish up here, I'm curious, what are you curious about right now? What are you learning these days?
Taxes.
Taxes.
Oh, funny. Here's how it got started. With my clients, I found I was getting just the most surreal information from them. I heard this person say I can do this and this. I'm like, unless that
Yeah, tax
the
education
attorney
is
that
an
is going to
important
need to
part of being
represent
a
you.
financial planner. We can't give tax advice, obviously, but tax
Exactly.
education
But
is
I
a
found,
big
yeah,
component. Yeah.
exactly. So I found I started going online, listening to them, then going to find the codes, then going to go back to them to say, hey, this is the code, this is the court case they're talking about. This is not exactly how it turned out. So from my end, not exactly being in taxes, but being able to be knowledgeable enough to be able to help people combat the rather surreal information that is out there.
That's a whole other topic that we can podcast on, which
Yeah.
is like the 10 silliest things people believe about taxes that aren't true. But
It's insane, and it's detrimental enough that it could be almost a detriment to their dream. So combating all of these things that I'm hearing in social media, because I am here for that journey to get them to sustainably be self-employed and not stopped by an audit.
so, just to finish up here, if you have one piece of advice for those folks that are listening who maybe feel that internal flame to explore a job exit, what would it be? What should they do today?
Just do the next thing. Like, I think it doesn't have to be here to a job exit. What's that one thing you're interested in? Is it, I don't know, you're thinking about being an event planner. Can you look at an event planner association and attend? So just what is that next micro step to take? It doesn't have to be big. It could be signing up for a free webinar, attending a free course, maybe asking a friend, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. If I help you, can you just give me feedback? Just the micro next step. It doesn't have to be big.
Okay. Great guidance. Tania P. Brown, as always, you are one of my favorite people to talk to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.